Hi Leo, welcome to your reading. Today we're going to talk about your specific sign, how the new moon that has just happened at 23 degree of Pisces, how would that impact you? How would that grow in impact on your life in 2022 when Jupiter and Neptune will come together at the very same point where this new moon is happening, which means that the new beginning, the new start, the new initiations we are doing over the course of next 2 weeks, they become a preview of 2022 when these same beginnings, these same learnings, these same expression of life would expand in its impact when Jupiter, the planet of expansion, will fully ingress into your house of joint resources, in your house of financial resources that we earn from others. When Jupiter enters our house of joint resources, our joint finances, and that will happen for you in 2022. And right now, there's a new start, a new beginning that's happening over there. Normally, the way we gain, the expansion that comes in our life, both psychologically as well as financially and materially, that comes more from merging with other people in effective manner. Whether it is financially or in talents, our growth comes and benefits come more when we combine our resources with another person. It could be benefits that come from sponsors, that come from partners, that come from other people's resources, benefits that come from marriage, that come from business partnership, that come from inheritance, that come from tax refunds. And this is something that will fully pan out, fully benefit, and fully become clear in 2022. But right now, there might be some changes, some shifts that are happening both psychologically and materially in your life that are seeding that change. And these are not small changes, these are transformational changes. These are changes that are happening at the soul level. And there's some is some quality to it which makes it very impactful on the emotions. It sort of stirs up the emotions when it happens. It's um, not just at the visceral level. This is sorry, not just on the surface. This is at a visceral level, that there is a change is happening in your soul, in your way of thinking of shared resources and finances, as well as how you merge with others, how others impact you. Neptune has been in your house of give and take of relationships since about 2012. When Neptune is here, and it will stay there for 13 years, so it will stay there till 2025. Starting from 2012 to 2025, Neptune is in your joint resources, in your house of give and take of relationships. When this happens, the first impact, how we feel, is normally confusion in joint resources. It's almost like a feeling of being leached by other people in some ways, because Neptune makes our boundaries lower. We are being asked to merge more fully at a spiritual level, at a selfless level with others. In some ways, we learn to give without expecting the return in relationships, and there are a lot of teachings which happen due to this transit, which reduce our ego. A lot of people come in our life which change us, which transform us in how we are with other people. And in some ways, we merge with another at a very deep level. In some ways, we find divine love with another. This is a spiritual high in intimacy. This is divine seduction in some ways. But in order to get there, we have to open our boundaries to others. We learn the lesson of selfless love. We cultivate some values, some resources here which heal us from within. Because in the past, there might have been situations where trusting another and merging with another might not have been an option, might not have been your way of doing things. But something must have shifted over the course of last few years, starting from 2012, which changed that direction. You tap into this invisible reserve of love, of healing, of comfort from another's. This is, in some ways, psychic openness to other people, where you let other people in, not just on the surface, but at a much deeper level. And it definitely smooths out some of the edges that we have with other people. It's very spiritual, it's very inspirational, it's something that comes out of nowhere, but where who we are as a person changes. And it happens, it's a slow process. But if you look back from who you were in 2012 and who you are today, you'll find a huge difference in your openness to emotions, in your openness to spirituality, in your openness to things that we cannot explain in life, to depth, to intimacy, to how you merge with other people, to endings, to death. We become more open to transformation. And as a fixed sign, this is something that does not come easy to you. Because as a fixed sign, you like things to remain, at least the definition of life to remain constant in some ways. And that constant meaning of life has changed with Neptune over here, because there is a very different part of your psyche which is being woken up. And now in this season, with this new moon, with Neptune being so active right now, that part of your psyche is being woken up yet again in a very potent fashion. This is where Neptune takes us on a journey of self-awareness. It dissolves the whole idea of who we are as a person and makes us very raw and bare in some ways. It dissolves any pretense that we have. And in the process of that, we become somebody who is much more open to giving to others, much more open to be healed through others, as well as ready to heal others. We sometimes do give our power away when Neptune is here to others. And we do need to be, on a practical sense, be a little bit careful when Neptune is here. And when Neptune is very potently active right now, we need to be careful on shared finances, on property matters, on will, on inheritance matters, on loans, on communication regarding finances, on tax matters. Because there could be some amount of confusion, some amount of even delusion which might happen, because Neptune over here creates a blind spot. And here a blind spot is created about other people. But what Neptune is trying to teach us in the long run is, it's teaching us to depend on others, or rather open up to others, to connect without the material interests, with a selfless intent. Opening up to others to connect, to gain at a soul level, to gain at a knowledge level, to gain at a talent level, to gain at a creative, inspirational level. But knowing that you cannot depend on others for material support. Through a process of delusion and illusion, and through a positive and a negative cycle, which Neptune does when it goes back and forth over degrees in your 8th house, it teaches us to depend on others. It teaches us to not depend on others for material support, because it teaches us that depending on others for material support is essentially futile. But at the same time, it brings out a depth in you that you did not see before. The creativity that comes out with it, the soulfulness that comes out of it, the healing that comes out of it is at a very different level. Our ego is dissolved, our power is dissolved, but what comes out is a much more powerful persona. This is like a person being on the death door in some ways. Neptune is here. The transit makes you not fear life. It's where the soul is bared, ego is dissolved, power is dissolved, and we do our best work in some ways. The most creative people who did not care about what anybody in the world thought of them, because they were here to express their soul in some ways. they have this aspect in their birth chart. In it, it, it really does not matter how it looks to another. And it sort of teaches you in some ways to grow through others, to transform through others without belonging to others. What we need to be very careful about Neptune over here is Neptune can make is very addictive. And in the eighth house we can become addictive to pain in some ways, which you gotta be careful about. Neptune can make us self sorry a little bit, or even to some extent self destructive in some ways, which we gotta be careful about. It's a water energy which does not jive in a easy fashion with you, because it takes you to a deeper level, even a darker level, which you don't, as a sun ruled sign, the very sign which stands for sunlight and for brightness and for joy. That's a part of your chart you don't like to visit. But it gives you this power to heal others, to heal yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, economically, by learning a very different way of being with others. And as I said, when Jupiter comes in your house of joint finances next year, your expression of growth will come through combining your forces with others, financially, emotionally, in talents. So, learning this art of learning your instincts on how to merge with others, this instinct being a muscle that we are developing this year. Neptune will go back and forth on this degree. So, after 25th of June till 2nd of December, when Neptune is retrograde in this part of your chart, you will learn certain blind spots that existed in your joint finances, in your relationship with others, in your give and take with others, possibly in some financial matters, even in business partnerships, in inheritance. There will be things that we did not see before which will come out in open, which you got to be ready for. But at the same time, so be careful if you're signing off something right now financially. You want to be a little bit careful about it. But it increases our hope. It increases our hope. It sort of is an aspect. Neptune over here is uh, is an aspect which is known for people who actually gain in a crisis. You know, Iceland has Neptune in the eighth house. Uh, it was one of the countries that prospered in World War II. It learned, it is tough to live in. It's very tough to live in. It is one of the countries uh, which looks cold from outside. It's geologically active, many volcanoes. To an outsider, it looks like a difficult place to live in. But it's one of the most productive countries in the world, very conscious of its environment. It protects their home. It's one of the countries that prospered in World War II because it learned this art of surviving in crisis. And this muscle, this intuition of trusting yourself, even in the dire of the situations, is something that they created. This season, this new moon is teaching us to weed out and let go some of the things that are draining you. It's teaching you to go deeper in relationships you want to maintain and release some of the ones that you know are hurting you and you have had some blind spots around them. This is also the house of going deep within on a subject, self mastery in something, self mastery in something that takes you to a deeper journey to prosperity. It could be a financial subject that you need to go deeper into. You need to get tighter grip maybe of your joint finances, tighter grip on the money that you're earning from other people, learning to engage with the other people in the right way to balance out the give and take. Because, as I said, your boundaries are thin with others, but on a practical way that can make you suffer on joint relationships, especially financially. There will be a desire to change things up in that direction. And that's where a new seed is planted. A new seed is planted once you realize that you have the power to change them. You have the power to change the give and take in relationship. You have the power to have self mastery over an addiction, over anything negative that has been holding you back. This is the house of death where we go dive deep within and come out like a phoenix. We become aware of our own hidden motives here as well. This is the house of karma. So, some sort of karmic debt might need to be paid before you move forward. But there are certain seeds that are being planted right now, which is requiring you to go deep within, to deep to go deep in a transformation, to get rid of the old and see the new rules of the game. See the new rules of the game in give and take in relationships. The confusion that has existed in joint resources. The place where you might have been dependent on others in some ways. Spiritual guidance that you have been looking forward to getting. Prayers in crisis. The dreams and intuitive guidance that leads you out of here. That is coming with this new moon. You want to be very careful if there are other people who are managing your money. They can be your blind spots. We can get very permissive in joint relationships, financial ones especially. What can help us at a very deep level here is prayers, water healing, meditation, getting somebody practical to handle our joint finances, getting our taxes in order, getting anything related to money that comes through inheritance into order. There might be some addictive food habit that you might need to release, and this will be a good time to release that. Release that with love. Release that for your healing. Release that as a part of becoming a new person moving forward, as sort of a rebirth period that this is. And as I said, this transformation, the seed that you're planting right now, it supports you next year. It supports you into the expansion that is coming when Jupiter comes here. When Jupiter comes here, the other thing that happens is that it sort of increases the options, increases the options of making money, increases the options of making money through sources away from income, away from regular income. So it's sort of helpful for you to be connected with people, and you might be sort of making some of those connections or learning to make those connections now, because it's sort of like merging with other people can give you inspired hope and dreams. They can give you ideas, and there's need to lower our boundaries to do that, and that's what Neptune is doing. Neptune is lowering our boundaries, so people who are very different from us come into our close intimate relationships. They could be healers, they could be people who are, as I said, Neptune is dual sign. In the part 1 of the video I explained the spiritual love, and you would see that in normally that's how people perceive religion as well. As there are two ways, right, of looking at spirituality: cheating people, victimizing people, sort of making money off them by delusional thought process, or the other end is upliftment, moving, teaching life lessons to move above. So it's on your intention which road to take, but there will be both kind of people who will be coming in your very intimate relationships. There will be people of both types in your intimate relationships, and they will have karmic bonds with you. They would And they will already be there in my view, because Neptune has been here for a while, and we are almost in the second half. We in the last quarter of the transit. When we are in the last quarter of the transit, we have normally aced our intuition to know when we are being used, when what kind of people are coming. We have aced to some extent about knowing when we are being fearful, when you know, certain not so kosher things are going on in our surrounding. We sort of can intuitively feel that. And intuition is a muscle, as I said, and you have been developing that with this transit. So, in this season, with the new moon, I think it's a good idea to move forward and look at some of that. Look at some of the financial aspects. Is there a source of income that can grow for you next year, which is coming from other people? It could be in form of royalties. It could be in form of, you know, other people sponsoring you. It could be through spiritual pursuits, where you get paid. This is not a salary income. And why I'm specifically saying that for now is because on 26th of March, we will have Mars and North Node in your house of big wealth, in your house of network connections, in your house of social network and platforms. So when Mars and North Node are together, it's sort of some fated action in the direction of making big wealth, in terms of making gains, in terms of making the right kind of connection that click in the right way and get you the opportunity to move forward. So you sort of want to put yourself out there. Mars and North Node makes us very, very bold. It's sort of like if we haven't been able to break through a network that we have been trying to get into, we've not been able to make a acquaintance that we wanted to make, we have not been able to aim higher. This is the house of vision and dreams where Mars and North Node are coming together. We aim higher. We go set up a platform, set up a network, set up a group which puts us out there. So it's the time to put yourself out there around 26th of March. Mars and North Node is great strength. It's fearless strength. It's time to act on projects that pave our life destiny path. It will feel like a very impulsive, reckless thing, but it is making a positive aspect for with you. It is a tool to be used. So connect with people, find people who will get you there, find your tribe, find a platform where your words can be spoken. Words have power and force. Intellect has power at this time. So connect, connect, connect. When Mars and North Node are together, 26th of March is just one day, but this aspect becomes active from 21st. What you want to be careful about when Mars and North Node are together, words fly easy. As I mentioned in the part 1 of the video, axis of evil speech was given when last time these two were together in Gemini. So very hurtful words can be said which have repercussion, karmic repercussion. You want to be a bit careful, especially with your friends, with elder brother, large set of people on social media. You want to be a little bit careful that we can get a little bit edgy. You'll find people on the edge a little bit. Mars is going to be out of bound. People will be a little bit out of bound. Everybody trying to get their share to some extent. It's like this month has a seed of optimism, seed of dreams, seed of high hope and visions, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of unrealistic expectations to some extent, but it's culminating in everybody going a little bit over the top. And you'll see that after 21st that we're going a little bit over the top. Make use of that to make your mark, break into a network you earlier thought you're not bold enough to get in, or you were not getting the enthusiasm to go for it. Set up a platform, set up a network, set up, meet that influential guy you wanted, or guy or gal you wanted to meet who can get you to the next level. Those kind of things are what Mars and North Node can be positively used for. Making a long term goal a reality, making a long term vision a reality, speaking up, taking your talents to the next level by displaying them, putting yourself out there, putting your talents out there in front of people. Planning something for financial gains, investments, investment ideas, implementing those, going for those. But again, if it's a joint financial situation on 29th of March, you have Mercury and Neptune together in your joint finances. Somebody in your in a business manager, somebody who's managing your finances, or a bank guy or a consultant is telling you something to invest in, you got to be very careful around 29th of March. It has to be your intention, your idea, your initiative to do something when it comes to finances at this point in time. And the other things you need to be a little bit careful. It's something could have a blind spot. Don't sign anything, in my view, around 29th of March. It's a very fuzzy kind of aspect. A day or two before and after as well. End of March, be very careful with the financial matters at that time, especially around 23 degree of Leo, which is around 16th of August born. You want to be a little bit careful around that time. Uh, but it's very good for you to convince somebody. If you are engaged in something, you're convincing somebody, you're selling something, setting up a platform, you're getting people interested in your idea. That is a great time for you to do that, for you to initiate that. So that's what I have for you. I'll see you in the next video now. Thank you.